People with disabilities have been eating girl dinners for decades. But let's talk about what it actually really is and what it should be really called. Yes, it's way less sexy, and in our day and age, we really don't like things that aren't sexy. But the reality is, girl dinners are essentially just the tray method. People with disabilities have been using the tray method of eating for a very long time. This is something that is new to me, and I've just been using to help me on days where Luke has very long days at work, and I need to make sure that I eat. Here's how it works. You have a tray very similar to this one, pretty much any size that you're able to lift once there's food in it or on it. And the food is food that you like to eat, food that are fairly simple, food that you like no matter what type of day you're having, good, bad, or ugly, food that doesn't require any cooking, microwaving, or cutting. Essentially, these wonderful girl dinners that we keep seeing on TikTok and Instagram.
Cups of mac and cheese, maybe some homemade nachos. Does this really count as a dinner?
This is my meal. I call this girl dinner. Girl dinner.
Girl dinner is a trend with over 1 billion views on TikTok.
They're very similar in nature. And I think why it's picking up steam and why people are like, oh my God, this is amazing, is because it takes so much less brain power, so much less energy, so much less time. Yes, I understand the concept, but you have to be very careful because you need to make sure you're eating proper nutrition. This is meant to ensure that you're doing this when you absolutely need to, not all the time. The tray method is a very important method for people with chronic pain and disabilities, but you need to prepare. And that's the piece that these girl dinners are ignoring. Because these girl dinners are just picking up whatever they've got in the fridge, and they can get pretty minimalistic and ignore some pretty basic concepts when it comes to eating, making sure they've got protein and things of that nature. And so when you're preparing your tray, that is something you need to keep in mind. You need to make sure you've got basic proteins. You need to make sure you've got your basics in mind. Yes, of course, you need to make sure you're going to eat those things. Make sure they're things that you love. Make sure that they're things that when you go to that tray and pick it up on the worst days of days, that you're going to eat what's on them. And so you don't necessarily need to be keeping 100% healthy in mind, but you need to make sure that you've got some basic nutrition kept as much in mind as you possibly can. My tray does look like a charcuterie board, not gonna lie. I love me a good old charcuterie board. Cheese, meats, pickles, a good old cracker. But I've also kept it fairly lean on the mean side with a chicken meat. I've got my really high protein Fairlife protein shake that I absolutely love. You guys have seen me talk about it just a few times. I've got my good old Laughing Cow cheese. I've got my yum pickles from the Costco's. I keep my tray fairly lean. These are all things I really love to eat. Now, typically my tray doesn't look like this exactly. Luke and I typically prepare it, keep it in smaller containers because this is much too heavy for me to keep, but we just wanted to show you in the original packaging just so you guys could see it. We don't necessarily always have this tray in the fridge. Sometimes they're just smaller containers in the fridge. You can do it however you wish. The concept of preparing things and having things pre-prepared in very small, easy batch that require absolutely no prep in the kitchen, no cooking, no knives. When I've got bad days, I have absolutely zero dexterity. We've even gone sometimes when I've got really bad weeks, on seizure weeks, where my dexterity is so low that I can't even open containers. We've gone to the point where we've gone to Ziploc bags. And I know some people are gonna hate me in the comments because Ziploc is not necessarily like the greatest thing in reusability and blah, blah, blah. I get it, guys. I totally, totally get it. And we've gotten some reusable bags, but even then, some of those on bad dexterity days, I can't even open them. And Luke has had to like half seal Ziploc bags so that I can even open them on bad dexterity days. So you do what you need to do to make sure that you keep yourself healthy and eating, because eating is the only thing that's fueling your body. You need food. You need food in your system. And that's why these girl dinners, these girls are probably even skipping meals when they're not doing these girl dinners. So good on them for at least putting some nutrition in their body. But these tray methods, if you just do a little bit more planning, and if you as people with disabilities, if you are a girl dinner lover and that's why you're watching this and this is how you found this channel, a little bit more prep, just plan a little bit harder, prep that fridge with a bunch of girl dinners if that's what you love to do, and bump up that protein a little bit, bump up those veggies a little bit. You will feel so much better, I promise you. I hope this video has been helpful. I hope this tray method concept, if you have heard about it, that, you know, these extra little tips have been helpful. If you haven't ever heard about the tray method, that this new concept to you has been mind-blowing, because when I first heard about the tray method, I was like, holy moly, people do this? I need to learn more. I was so pumped. I had never heard about this concept before. And quite frankly, the concept of not having to cook any food, I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. I can't spend more than a few minutes in the kitchen anymore. It's just not something I can do on mediocre days, let alone bad days. On good days, I preheat or reheat food at most. And so this tray concept and being able to just pick up food from the fridge and go and sit down is really been a godsend and has literally changed the way my nutrition has worked. And I just absolutely love this tray method. So I hope it helps you guys out there. And for those girl dinner gals who love their girl dinners, a little bit more planning, I think, would go a really long way. So we'll see you guys next week. And don't forget to slow your roll. If you've liked this video, you might like this one too. Check it out next.